Of course, the Witcher teaser drops when I'm far from home, so now I want to go over the Witcher teaser super, super late. And honestly, just gush about it. If you aren't part of the book club yet, I'll be doing breakdowns of each chapter of the Witcher books and podcast episodes where I talk about each chapter with a special guest that is only available to those that support me on Patreon. So if you want to join in with reading the books and getting exclusive content you won't get elsewhere, please consider joining on Patreon. Link in the comment section and video description down below. And if you join before July 28th, you get a postcard with a personalized note from me. If you aren't familiar with the Witcher series, it started as books, and then they were adapted to a variety of things. Probably what you know it best as is video games adapted from the books. Well, now Netflix is taking the books, and they are changing it into a TV series, live-action TV series. So here's a synopsis for The Witcher on Netflix. Geralt of Rivia, a solitary monster hunter, struggles to find his place in a world where people often prove more wicked than beasts. But when destiny hurtles him towards a powerful sorceress and a young princess with a dangerous secret, the three must learn to navigate the increasingly volatile continent together. So I actually just want to talk about the most interesting parts to me with the teaser and explain some things in it. I'm not going to go over every single second of it because that would take hours. This video would never end. Really. I had to stop myself. First, we see Geralt walking down the street, and you'll notice people looking at him. Witchers aren't looked upon very kindly all the time. There are people that like them or don't have much thought on them, but there's also a lot of hate out there for Witchers. The simplest explanation for this video is it's because they're mutated through various means to be able to kill monsters, so they're not seen in the best light. There are also rumors that Witchers are taught to kill, have all human emotions and reactions trained out of them, and they abduct children to feed magic herbs and turn them into Witchers. But like our own world, tolerance and prejudice varies from person to person and area to area, so some might actually really like Witchers, some may respect them, others may absolutely hate them. It also depends on if you are a certain type of magic user as well, as you'll see as the series evolves. So yeah, some might find Witchers to be trustworthy and inspiring, while others view them as mutated freaks. One quote that I think really drives that home is this one. "A hired magician, a conjurer for a fistful of silver. I told you, a freak of nature, an insult to human and divine laws. They ought to be burned, the likes of him." So I think what's going to be really interesting for this series is seeing the different reactions to Geralt as a Witcher, and the people that respect him, the people that are afraid of him, and the people that are just really shitty to him because they think he's just an absolute freak like all other Witchers. Honestly, I think Geralt looks really good. I know there's been a lot of jokes about him being too buff or attractive, and yeah, I can see the argument made for it, but I think he looks good. I think the wig looks great. I think his clothing looks great. Just everything about him. You'll also notice him wearing a necklace with a medallion on it, which is actually very important to Witchers. First and foremost, it's the silver symbol of the Witcher's profession, and each one is made to represent the school a Witcher comes from. Geralt comes from the wolf school, so his medallion has a wolf's head on it. The medallion also has a second and important task. It is sensitive to magic and responds to all types of magic, spells, charms, curses, and can even detect magical beings, vibrating and tugging on the chain when it does so. This isn't foolproof though. You'll see later in this series, I'm sure that Geralt has used the medallion to test if someone is a monster, but it isn't 100% accurate. We also see him using a silver chain in this teaser, which is important. Silver is fatal to most monsters that exist because of magic, and we see Geralt and other Witchers use a silver sword and also a silver chain to help them kill monsters or get them under control. And you probably noticed throughout this teaser that he was confronting quite a few different creatures, magical monsters, and we're being promised that they actually put quite a few in this first season, and they're really excited to see how they integrated all these different type of creatures into the show. We hear a voiceover saying that elves were the original sorcerers until humans and monsters came to their world, or the continent rather. And the continent is about where 90% of the landmass is on this planet, and where we spend most the story, which actually isn't our Earth, but our Earth does exist in this series in the multiverse. The Witcher series takes place on a planet called the Globe, the Earth, or the world by its people, and has one moon and orbits a star that is called the Sun. Now, this isn't actually our Earth, though, like I said, our Earth does exist in the Witcher series. It just exists in the multiverse, and supposedly, us humans fucked up our actual planet, which does not surprise me. Us humans are really good at fucking things up. It's just something we specialize in. In the Witcher series, the multiverse contains other realities and an infinite number of parallel realities, universes, and dimensions. At one point, traveling the multiverse was easy, but after the conjunction of the spheres, which happened 1500 years before the novels take place, and most likely the show, it's much harder, and some places actually cease to exist. And the conjunction of spheres is very, very important for this series. When it occurred, it ended up trapping creatures in the dimension the Witcher series takes place in. Well, primarily takes place in. So just know the catastrophic event called the conjunction of the spheres resulted in trapping many unnatural creatures in their world, like vampires. Now, him saying elves taught humans to turn chaos into magic. In the Witcher series, magic is used by harnessing the power of chaos, though it can also be called power, force, and the primordial chaos. Many druids, priests, mages, magical creatures, and witchers wield magic, and there are many branches like divination, mind-based, fire-based, water-based, earth-based, and air-based. The four elements, air, water, fire, earth, actually also have their own dimension or plane of existence. Generally, there are two types of magic you're not supposed to use, raising the dead and summoning creatures from different dimensions, but that's not always adhered to. Him saying then humans slaughtered them, so what happened was we went over to their planet and we began a conquest of the continent, overpowering the other races, and you know, the ones that were originally from this planet, even making non-humans pay taxes, whose world it actually belonged to. Moving on, we got to look at the Niflgaardians in the teaser. The continent contains the Northern Kingdoms and the Niflgaardian Empire. The Northern Kingdoms consist of groups of human states. Within these states, dwarves, elves, halflings, and gnomes live. However, these species also have their own homes and cities outside the humans, and you'll see how the different races interact. Some try to integrate into human society, and other ones are just like, no, fuck you, you took our homes. So the Niflgaardian Empire is located on the southern part of the continent, and they are an incredibly powerful and absolute monarchy. In fact, they are the most important empire in the history of the known world. They have a strong economy and army, and they are on the move to conquer more and more. Led by an emperor or empress, at the time it's going to be emperor, their provinces are actually ruled by princes, dukes, counts, and others. However, despite the title of someone controlling a province, they answer and obey to the emperor in everything. What the guy said in this teaser is true. The Niflgaardians are looking for Ciri, but I don't want to spoil why or how that evolves. And we did get a good look at Ciri, who has her fate tied to Geralt and is incredibly, incredibly important to this series. I think she looks fine. I know there was a lot of issues with how she looked. I'm going to hold out judgment for now. She's fine. To me, she's fine. We see Yennefer in this teaser as well. She becomes a sorceress and is Geralt's love interest in the books and video game, I guess, depending on what path you take. We're told they're going to explore the more pivotal points in her life, and I'm actually really happy they're showing it. So in the books, Geralt could tell she was a hunchback before becoming a sorceress, and magic changing her to be physically pleasing. So it looks like they're going to show her being a hunchback and the magics that change her to be physically appealing. And then obviously the Yennefer you see here is after she becomes a sorceress. We also got a good look at Triss, which I'm really glad they kept her with red hair and blue eyes, which is the rarest combination on our Earth. And also redheads are less than 2% of the population and often mocked. And I remember just growing up, just being tormented relentlessly. I still do to a certain degree as an adult, and just seeing websites about the extermination of redheads. So it's really cool of Netflix to keep powerful redhead characters that are supposed to be beautiful and intriguing, powerful in the series without changing them to be something else, because, you know, brunettes and blondes are so prominent in our world, but redheads, like, we're the biggest minority out there for hair color and just, our genetics and stuff. So I really want to applaud Netflix for keeping the redhead characters redheads in this series to show that it's all right to be a redhead and not shitting on us like, oh my god, so crazy that like Ariel's not a redhead anymore, MJ and Spider-Man isn't, Daredevil even, and then Netflix, they decided not to make him a redhead. It's the list goes on and on. So Netflix, I applaud you for not trying to erase redheads from your series and from the world, and letting people know that we can be beautiful and powerful and we're here. So it's really cool of you. Honestly, my favorite shot of this teaser is the last one where we see Geralt post taking his elixirs, which elixirs or mixtures are little vials of a combination of different things that help witchers fight monsters. So these mixtures are used by witchers to help them gain full control of their body and sharpen their hearing, seeing, and increase reflexes and strength. Only those that were given the mixtures since childhood can actually survive taking them, and one elixir in particular gives him face the color of chalk. It makes his pupils fill the entire eyes so he can see in the deepest darkness, and my god, did they capture that so well here. This makes me beyond excited to see all the fun things they do from the books and that they're going to give us as a surprise. Kind of my random thoughts on this teaser, because I know there's so much more to go over. I find it interesting that these books are from a Polish author, and he interwoven in his world a lot of that history and their tales and their culture. And to me, it's very interesting that as, I guess, a society, that we live in a society meme. Dear God, I didn't mean to start that. I find it interesting that we're willing to erase and wash away everyone else's culture to represent a specific set of people. And it doesn't matter whose culture we trample on, even if it's from the original source and we have to butcher their own culture in order to represent what we want to represent. I find that very fascinating that that's kind of the route we're going lately. It's kind of like the route we're going with males versus females when we have a powerful female, but we show that she's powerful by being so much better than men and trampling on them and talking shit to them. And it's fascinating to me that we can't show women being powerful without trampling on men. We can't just show them being like, hey, women are powerful, men are powerful. Women can have their place, men can have their place. It's cool. And that seems to be what we're doing with everything. It's just washing it away, pissing on it, or making something else look bad in order to make something look good. And I don't know. It's interesting choices. I guess we'll see where this goes. Probably nowhere good. Overall, though, I do think it was a really good teaser. They gave us a great look at Ciri, who is incredibly important to the story, and like I said, becomes tied to Geralt through a specific thing. They'll probably show it. I would almost guarantee they're going to show it. They showed us Yennefer, who is Geralt's soul mate in the books. It could be a little different in the video games. We got to see Triss. We got to see their version of elves, and I'm actually most excited to see how they represent all the different races in this show and magic users, and keeping the prejudice they have of, mages not liking witchers and witchers thinking sorcerers and sorceresses are all fucking stuck up, and priests thinking they're dirty heathens because they cast spells and they don't get their power from the divine. And I don't know. I'm actually super, super excited for this series, and I think the teaser looked great. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. So like, subscribe, and come back for more videos.